Guys, we just did a whole segment for you before we began, and the mic wasn't on, so we had to cut it.
You liar!
We might actually show it to you.
The worst possible way to start the show is we just did something really cool, and you don't get to see it.
It's all about clickbait, okay? If we say we did something really cool, then you'd be like, oh my god, what was it? And then we never show it to you. You're like, we'll never know.
Tell you who did not just do something cool. The ESRB is the Electronic Software Ratings Board, and these people are basically employed by large publishers to self-regulate the industry and rate titles like T for teen and M for mature and all that sort of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They do their job. They do it okay, I sort of guess. But the challenge for an entity like this is not like the normal everyday, do you give GTA an R rating? It's the whole like, when times are changing, when attitudes are shifting, when new products are coming online, how does that agency respond? And unquestionably, the ESRB has dropped the ball because they've just released new guidelines for how they plan to classify loot boxes.
And it's all going to be the same shit.
Sam.
Yes.
If I was to say to you, Coke has sugar in it,
Yes.
would you be surprised?
Very surprised, because they don't have sugar, they have sugar.
What if I was to say to you, you know how they have on Coke or other products, they have that nutritional table that shows you how much sugar is in them?
Yes.
What if I was to say to you that we're going to take away the nutritional table that tells you how much sugar is in that product and instead just replace it with
sugar.
Contains sugar?
That sounds completely logical. Like, you know, if you're going to buy a Coke or a Fanta or anything, you don't want to know what's in it.
No way, man.
It doesn't matter how much sugar or shit or whatever's going to be in there.
That's right.
Sugar or
methylamine.
You just want to know that
methane.
you just want to know it's gonna taste good.
That's right.
Just like these new laws, if there's gonna be loot boxes in something, doesn't matter if it's pay to win, cosmetic, or if it's just gonna be completely, you know, EA standards, complete shit. It doesn't matter as long as they just slap an approval with some, what is it, a T?
No, it's a generic label saying in-game purchases.
In-game purchases. Okay.
As long as we have that, we're set.
As long as we have that, we're set. It doesn't matter. We can give it now to our 12-year-old kids, 10-year-old kids. As long as it has that little label, we feel safe now.
So the detail behind this is that the ESRB has been considering how it will respond to the whole loot box controversy. And it's taken its time to do that, and it's just put out a tweet today. Now, there is a fairly lengthy tweet here. We won't go full Yong Yeah and read out the whole thing.
We love you, Yong Yeah. We do love you. We do watch you, actually.
We do. Every day, man.
Every day.
That's where we get all our news. Starting soon, ESRB will begin assigning a brand new label to physical games in-game purchases. This label, or as we'll call it, interactive element, WTF, will appear on boxes and whenever these games can be downloaded for all games that offer the ability to purchase digital goods and premium goods with real-world money. This includes features like bonus levels, skins, surprise items such as item packs, loot boxes, mystery awards, music, virtual coins, and other forms of in-game currency, subscriptions, season passes, upgrades to disable ads, and more.
Okay, that was very young. Yeah, we pretty much read the whole thing.
Did read the whole thing.
We pretty much read the whole thing. So, like, my problem with this, personally, is...
And there are many problems.
There are many problems with it.
Problems.
But the big thing is, a lot of people aren't going to be able to really understand what they're purchasing if they just slap on a little sticker saying in-game purchases or whatever it's going to be.
There are like 600 people that would understand the nuance of what this means, and all of them are watching this video right now. This is the most obscure, ridiculous, obtuse way to label things.
How can you be so obtuse? What did you call me?
But the thing is, when, you know, I think it's really about protecting mums and dads when they're going out. Well, not only them, of course, but let's just start there. Mums and dads going out trying to purchase something for their children. They want to know exactly what they're purchasing, because when they give it to the kids aren't going to, you know, the parents aren't going to know what in-game purchases are going to be taking place when they're in their room playing those games, you know? Like, even if you're 20 years old or 30 years old, doesn't really matter what age you are, you're still walking in now to a video game and not knowing what you're really signing up for. EA did that perfectly with Star Wars Battlefront 2. A lot of people purchased the game thinking, this is going to be fantastic, and then you have to pay like $400 to even compete with people.
There is a very big difference between World of Warcraft's subscription model, The Witcher 3's very fair DLC model, and Star Wars Battlefront 2's absolutely bullshit microtransaction economy. There's a very big difference between the three of those things, and all of that nuance is now lost with this label. In the mind of a parent, they're going to see this on every single box every box will have this label on it.
True,
Because
every box.
every product now will have in-game purchases.
Yes.
That is a fact. Like, even the new bloody Shadow of the Colossus remake on PS4 will have this label on it, because you could buy some special new horse kit bullshit, whatever. I don't know. This is completely pointless, and it literally makes things harder. It literally sets us backwards.
It dilutes us.
Because
It
now,
dilutes it more.
correct, because now parents are going to see, well, in-game purchases, they've all got that these days, don't they? No big deal. Just file that as I don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
Versus if there was no label like that, they might have had to ask some questions. They might have had to think about, what is this? What's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, the Apple Store literally does more than this already, forcing companies to disclose loot boxes on any sort of surprise item, as they're calling it now in this bullshit. There's nothing in here with relation to the disclosure of odds either. It's completely atrocious. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, because the head of the ESRB was actually interviewed by a number of journalists, including Polygon, and Polygon had reported on that conversation. And there's some really key call-outs in that, which we'll talk about now.
A day later, the ESRB was asked, is this an effective response to loot boxes? And this is what they said. We feel this is an effective response. If you care about parents, if you care about their concerns, this is an effective response. When I hear that, I'm like, wow. What a brick wall there.
This is literally alternative facts. This is literally taking the truth and turning it to the opposite of the truth and saying, this is the truth.
But there's the truth and the truth.
To say that if you care about parents, this is an effective response is the most blatant fucking bullshit. This is so clearly not an effective... Anyone sitting around a table at the ESRB knows this is not an effective response. Unquestionably so. This does nothing to arm parents with useful information. It does nothing to respond to the issue of loot boxes and gambling. It does nothing to respond to the way that it's specifically tapping into the psychology of gambling addiction to get young people to spend more on video games. It does nothing to speak to any of the studies that have been done on this that conclusively prove that this stuff is messing with your brain in this way. It's like, this is an effective response.
Yeah, not only that, it's very manipulative, I think, the language there. If you care about parents, like please, we know that's not what's really going on here. You just want to make sure you can tick the box.
These guys don't give a fuck about parents.
You don't give a damn. If you really gave a damn, you'd actually sit down and ask the right questions. Like, what are we going to arm parents with so they can discern what is going to be harmful for children and what's going to be, a little bit more safer.
You're the devil?
It's always the one you least suspect.
Now, they did say that they're going to be launching a new campaign to improve awareness of in-game, transactions and the like. Parentaltools.org is their new website. No idea how that's going to turn out yet. We'll come back to that later on. And I think the proof is in the pudding with this, right? Asked if the ESRB had received any opposition from publishers when developing these plans, Vance simply said, no. Fox in charge of the henhouse kind of thing.
It's exactly like that. You can't expect people that are gaining financially massively in this kind of situation to do what is right for the consumer. Of course, they've got a huge conflict of interest. If you start bringing huge businesses in that most of their sales are based on microtransactions, they're going to make sure that anything that's put in place is so murky, so diluted, that it doesn't actually affect their bottom line.
And let's be clear as well, there is no public consultation for this process, right? Where does it say, we asked consumers, we asked politicians, we asked, leaders of faith, what they thought about this proposal. None of that is in there. And they're just like, well, we asked EA and they were A-okay with it, so we're all alright. Like, that is just the most blatant hypocrisy that I could imagine. Coming back to this point about whether or not there is research on video games and their link between gambling and the way it sort of taps into your psychology, these sorts of things, they actually did speak about this point as well. They said, we tried to find research on that, but we were unable to find any evidence that children were specifically impacted by loot boxes or they were leading them towards some tendency of gambling. We truly don't know of any evidence supporting those claims. We continue to believe that loot boxes are a fun way to acquire virtual items. Most of these cosmetics. Vance stressed that the items can be earned without purchase, but in either case, they're always optional. This is like that guy in front of the Chris Lee thing.
That cannot answer that. Can't answer that. That I'm not aware of.
What's 2 + 2?
That cannot answer that.
Except that guy was a bumbling buffoon, whereas
Yes.
this person's actually competent.
And they're like corporate competent,
Corporate competent.
That's the word of today. Corporate confident.
Yeah.
They know how to spin the shit and make sure it sounds like it's all good. Again, it's not actually going to be. I don't think it's actually going to get. It's not going to put anything in place that's going to do anything except make it a lot easier for these companies to continue to do exactly what they're doing.
Correct. And you know why? When challenged specifically on why this didn't go further on loot boxes, they said it's important for us not to harp on loot boxes per se.
Of course.
What? Anyway, when we describe what a loot box is to parents, we found that their primary concern, by far, is their child spending money. This initiative we're launching is focusing on that parentaltools.org thing. So what they're saying is that parents didn't really understand what a loot box was. They just sort of knew that their kid was spending money and that was the issue. So rather than try and educate them on what a loot box is and why it's dangerous, rather than try and label that as a form of simulated gambling on the package and make that super clear, they're just like, well, we're just going to call it, interactive fucking something or other.
And another thing, just before, like, this whole idea that, it's a fun way of loot boxing is not really connected to gambling. I mean, we've already covered this before, but it's a really important point. McDonald's does the same thing here. They make sure that you have a fun time at McDonald's, you go on the play sets, and it gets ingrained into you. They're doing the same thing here. And if we look at, microtransactions in 20 years, a lot of these children would have started out really early doing microtransactions and ingraining that into their brain, and it's just super normal for them to always have this addictive gambling tendency as they get older. Like, it's definitely it's not something to be taken lightly.
So look, it goes on. There's more bullshit. There's more justifications. Honestly, we'll link the article below. I couldn't believe reading it. I couldn't believe how tone deaf this individual was. How out of touch. How uninterested in the actual perspective of consumers this entity is.
Am I so out of touch? No. It's the children who are wrong.
They are absolutely on the list now. They are on the fucking list of we do not trust these guys. I had my doubts. I'd sort of hoped that they'd come and do the right thing at some point, and they'd come forward with something progressive. But this proves that they are absolutely in the pocket of large publishers. They have no interest whatsoever in trying to solve this problem in the right way.
Yep.
And it's just obfuscation and bullshit.
Yeah.
So
this is the problem. When you are paid by a certain person, then you are always going to do... you're going to say the things you need to usually, or you're going to act a certain way that will please where the money's coming from. This is the problem with Skill Up, everybody. You have all these reviews that you see, he's actually getting paid under the table.
That's right.
So like Monster Hunter,
Activision pay me a fortnightly salary to continue to dump on Destiny 2.
He actually,
so keep up your great work.
Yeah, he actually hated Monster Hunter, okay? So when he says he loves it, don't believe it.
That's so true.